Okay, so we are currently filming from my camera. I got a camera a couple years ago from Christmas, and we're filming from it. So that's so exciting. Yeah, so we'll have to work with it and see what happens and see how it goes, but very excited to see how this is going to work and progress into being an actual YouTuber by having a camera. But today we're going to do the eyeshadow tag, and we are going to talk about some of my most used, most liked, or most hated palettes. So we're going to start not in order, because I do have an order listed from what Smoky Glow did in her video, because that's how I got the list of all of them. I just kind of stacked them in what was smallest to largest, so that's how we're going to do this. And I also used sticky notes so I knew which one was which. So we're going to go with the smallest first, and that one is the LA Colors Nude Eyeshadow Palette. I had bought, trying to open it so I can show you, I had bought this at a dollar store, I believe. It was like Dollar General. And I thought the colors were really pretty. I thought they were like really different, but still like, I don't know, stuff I would use, if you can see that in the way they're swatched on my hand. Still trying to figure out the whole camera setup, but we're going to ignore that and we're going to go with it. If I have to film it again, I have to film it again. But I just think the colors are so unique and like nice, and the quality is so good for this being like $3-4. And I think a lot of people should like take advantage of an eyeshadow palette this cheap and like that's so convenient to find for people who live near a Dollar General, because I know a Dollar General is easier to get to than like Walmart, Ulta, Sephora, Target, things like that. But yeah, and I also wanted to make this my smallest one because I know a lot of people were using the new e.l.f. like they're like this. I'll show you because I do have them for this one, but they were using those and I was like, I want to use something different. I don't want to have to be the same. Like, you've heard all of those that they're the smallest, but maybe there's other things that are out there that are smaller. So that's why I wanted to include this palette. The next one we'll do is most affordable, and those are the e.l.f. palettes. And I have Rose Water, Truffles, and Cream and Sugar. And I think these palettes are really nice to have, even for people who like bougier type of makeup and like stuff that's more expensive, because like in the Truffles palette I really like this glittery shade on the end. I think it's really cool and unique, and you don't really find it in a lot of palettes, and if you do, they don't tend to be the same thing in every palette. Like they're all kind of like different tones, and they have different like undertones and things like that. I would say the Cream and Sugar is a plain basic palette, like eyeshadow palette. Like if you're looking for like your plain, somewhat warm, somewhat cool palette, you don't really want to go too extreme. You just want something you can like brush on the lid and then move on with your day, and it's not like, you're not gonna, oh my gosh, look, you have makeup on. Like it's just kind of like, oh, your eyes look nice today. I think that would be a good one, as is the Rose Water palette. This would just be a little bit more pink and purple toned. And I know a lot of people have talked about that in their eyeshadow tag, and I feel like there's a reason for that, not just because they're small, but because they're actually good palettes. We're going to talk about my everyday palette, and I was like contemplating which one to talk about because I use a lot of palettes every day, but I feel like this is one I've been reaching for a lot lately, and it is the Going Coconuts palette from ColourPop. This one, I was on the fence about buying when it first came out because I just thought it was so like, people were talking about it so much, and I was just thinking, maybe this isn't something I want to like get into. Like it's not, you know, I had another ColourPop palette that was the browns and warms and neutral and things like that, and I just thought it was better, like what I liked better. But I'm really glad I bought this because I really like the colors. I really like Cocoa Crush in the middle. I find that I end up using that one a lot. Also with Get Crackin' in the corner here. Yeah, this one. I find that I use it a lot, and I can make really different looks with it, but at the same time, like I'm not branching out too far from what I like, because a lot of times I'll just do brown like looks and colors, and I'll stay very nude and neutral. So I think this is a good one if you don't want to be like too extreme. My favorite palette from my favorite brand, I was debating over which one to talk about because I wasn't quite sure what my favorite brand was, but I figured it was ColourPop in terms of color, like in terms of eyeshadow quality, because their eyeshadow quality never changes, never fails. They always put out good quality, you know, mattes and shimmers, and even the glitters, which I don't typically use a whole lot. But I wanted to talk about the Lilac You a Lot palette. This is their purple palette. They have like another one that's like more plummy and like has darker purples, but I think this one is so pretty, especially the shade Wake Me right here. Oh my gosh, like talk about stunning. Like I just think this is so cute, and I could get really good looks out of it without making it too extreme and like feeling like a drag queen kind of thing, I would definitely recommend if you're looking for a purple palette to go this route and not so much like, not shading Jeffree Star, but like instead of spending 50 some dollars on that kind of a palette, go with this one because it has your basic purples and like what you're mainly looking for in a purple palette. My oldest palette that I was figuring up, I know I've had palettes older than this. I'm pretty sure my oldest palettes would be the CoverGirl palettes. Like I remember I had the golds, and I don't know if I had the colored one, but I know I had the rose gold one. And I don't think I have those anymore, so I can't obviously talk about them. I wanted to talk about what was in my collection and things that I currently had to talk about. Although those were pretty good shadows for their day and for drugstore. So if you're looking for one and you don't want to spend a whole lot of money and you want to be a little nostalgic, go with that. But the one I want to talk about today is the Yes Please palette. I don't know why it says Cute AF if it's Yes Please. But this one was the first palette I had asked for from ColourPop, and I had like been dying to get it because it's a very like warm palette, but you can also get pretty like neutral, like not cool looks, but you can get pretty basic. Like if you use these 4 colors, but then you can also go yellow and gold, and then you can also do this really nice orange. I find myself using that one a lot. I'm not hitting pan because I haven't used this one in a while, but I think it's one I'll definitely get out because I really like the quality and I like the shadows, and I think it's one that it's different for ColourPop. Like I know it was early on, so like their colors are just kind of like, they don't have like the whole plan of their theme of what they were doing, but I think it's a really good palette, especially for like how old it was with ColourPop. I think it's one that everyone should pick up and have in their collection, even if it's not quite your thing. Now, my most used palette was one I was considering whenever I brought up the Everyday palette, and it's the ColourPop California Love palette. This is one that I use a lot, like every day, or it's one I could use every day. And I know it has the glitter here in El Captain, but like you don't have to use the glitter. I don't typically use the glitters just because they're a lot of work and I'm just not here for it. Like I'm kind of lazy when I do my eyeshadow. But I think it has a lot of really nice shimmers in it. Like this color in particular is so nice. And I think you can do a very basic look, but at the same time you can also go and do like a super like bougie looking thing. Also, ignore my washing machine. It's been like that since I moved here and I just have to deal with it. I just like shut the door and move on. And I thought the washer was done, and then it started screaming at me while I'm in the middle of filming. So we're just going to move past that. Let's go with this one. My most expensive palette was one that I spent an hour trying to buy the first day it was released. Got mad because I couldn't get it, and then they wouldn't like offer it up an apology. They're just like, oh yay for me, I sold this. And I'm a little salty about the brand and like the whole thing in general, because I feel like the whole leading up to this was just a big sales pitch to get people to buy it. And it's the Shane Dawson and Jeffree Star Cosmetics Conspiracy palette. Now, I watched the documentary about Jeffree because I was really interested to learn more about him, and this ended up being a sales pitch for the palette, and it was all about Shane and all about making the palette, and it talked a little bit about Jeffree, but not enough that like it wasn't a part 2 to the original thing about Jeffree. But I really like the colors in here, and I think Shane did a really good job using different shades, things that haven't been out in other palettes. Like I think Trisha here and then Food Videos, I think these are 2 very different colors that you don't see very often. I really like the Shadow Sleep Paralysis down here at the bottom, this like silvery color, because that's a color that I used to use a lot. There was like a single shadow from NYX that I would use all the time, and I'm not quite sure if it was a good look or if it even looked good on me, but I wore it and I was very confident in wearing it. But so that brings back a lot of memories with that shade. But I think it's very versatile in what you can do, but you can also do a very plain and like everyday look, which was why I ended up getting it whenever it was like restocked, because I figured I could end up getting looks out of this and I could end up doing something with it other than just like super bright colored and like things that weren't good for every day. My best memory palette, I almost call it most expensive, but that's not it. My best memory palette would probably be the Lorac Pro 4. I believe this. Yeah, this is 4. So as you can see, mine's a little dusty, dirty. I had an accident with this one, which is probably why I want to talk about it as my best memory. I was working at Kohl's when I bought this, and they had 15% off for like employees, or like with their coupons, we ended up spending like saving 15% or something on beauty during the time that I bought this. And this had just come out, and I really wanted a Lorac palette because I'd heard really good things. People raved about the first one, and this one I just loved the color scheme, and I was like, you know what, I like this because I like this, so I'm gonna buy it. I'm not gonna let some YouTuber tell me that it's not good or they don't like the color palette, because it's all opinionated, and like what they think isn't what I think. And I ended up getting it. Now, as you can tell, especially in Pecan right here, I dropped this palette. And I want to like cry, which is why I want to talk about it as my best memory, because I dropped it off my kitchen. It was my bathroom counter at my like parents' house, and I just saw color like poof. And I opened it, and the shadows were like broken, but still intact. And I know this is a very light, like dusty type of palette. Like the formula is very soft, so it's easy to break, which was I was really concerned about opening it. But like a lot of the shades over here didn't break, and I don't know if it was because of the way it fell or not, but like I can still use the shadows, still get good, you know, it still has good payoff. I don't think it's one of the best palettes ever, but I definitely think it's one that, like, if you're thinking of getting it, I would suggest just to get it, just to have it in your collection. It's one that I definitely want to use a lot more, because I really liked using it whenever I did use it, and I could get a lot of different everyday brown nude type looks, which I like doing ones that like you have multiple colors to choose from in a palette. I don't like ones that like, these are the 3 shades you could do for an everyday palette and that's it. Like I like that this one has a different like layout, and it's just easier for me to use, which is probably why I ended up getting it. So my newest palette would probably be my Midas Cosmetics and Smoky Glow palette. Now I just love the pink glitter on here, which is why I wanted to show it to you from the outside, but then on the inside you get Hi Friends and a mirror, and then the shadows. And I just think these are so gorgeous. It's not the best quality shadows in my opinion. I think like I use Nutty, and I think I used an eyeshadow primer, so I knew that my eyeshadow was going to stay, and it was one that I used a lot, and it ended up creasing. Like it just like all bunched into my crease, and I just had this like line of color. And I wasn't too happy about that, but I did get a good day's use out of it, and it was hot. So I figure I'll like on maybe a more normal day where I'm inside and the weather's like more comfortable, and it, you know, I'm not going to be sweating and stuff, then I don't have to worry about that as much. But I think there's a lot of different colors in here, a lot of pinks and reds and oranges, and I think you could get a nice warm look, but you could also get like a bright poppy like pink and purple type look. So I think this is definitely one that I would recommend to everybody, especially to help out Smoky Glow Hannah, because I think that she's a really nice person and I love her YouTube videos. My palette that is worth the hype was one that I didn't really have to think about too hard because it was sitting right on my desk, and I know why. It's the Tati Beauty Textured Neutrals Volume 1 palette. I had to think of what it was called, but I'm pretty sure I knew what it was. First of all, it comes with this big giant mirror, which I really appreciate from a brand that's so new like Tati's was, because this was her first product as Tati Beauty, not just as like the Halo supplements and things like that. And she came with a big mirror, and the palette is like heavy. Like if you want quality, this is the palette to go with. And like it comes with glitters and metallics and sequins, and then your mattes, and you get a variety of shadows. Like I know this is saying a neutrals palette, but I love that it comes with the purples and the orangish reds, because it gives you like a chance to branch out from your typical nudes. Like I don't think I would have bought this if it hadn't come with those, although I did really want to support Tati because I was really proud of this palette. I think the colors are very beautiful, and the payoff is so like top notch, like chef's kiss, as Samantha Ravindall would say. But I really like the glitters too. I had used this for like a New Year's Eve look, and oh my gosh, I was like drooling how nice it was. So I would definitely recommend anyone buy this palette, even if you're not into YouTubers, because I just think that like the time and energy spent into that was so well worth it, and it like ended up being so good. So my last palette I want to talk about was in 3 different categories, and I don't really like the palette, I don't really like the brand, I don't really like the person that they collabed with it, and I'm sure you can all guess, and I would love it if you could guess in the comments, not that like I'm gonna, you know, you're gonna see what it is in a couple seconds and you can say, well, I called it, like, you know what I mean? But my biggest, most colorful, and not worth the hype palette is the Morphe and James Charles palette. Now, this is the Artistry palette. I forget what he called it. It was like the Be Your Dreams or Be Your Best or something like that, like Dream Big or whatever. Unleash Your Inner Artist. Maybe that's what it was called. But I have used this palette multiple times, and I don't think it's really that good. The colors don't really blend as nice as, like, you'd expect. Like, I really like this purple down here, this purple, like, shimmer, but I honestly feel like I would rather pay my money to another brand that's not as shady and to somebody who's not gonna, like, rip you off. Like, first of all, let me just say that that travel palette was just to get your money and just to get people to buy a second palette to support you. Like, I'm not trying to, like, throw shade, get into drama. Like, I'm a beginning YouTuber. Like, I'm just saying my opinion. But, like, I don't know. I feel like some of the shadows could have been, like, matte instead of shimmer, or they could have been shimmer instead of matte. I don't know. I like that the middle, though, I do have to say this, that the middle is, like, skin tones. I wish that this would have been a neutral, or, like, a matte instead of a shimmer, because this would have been really good as, like, your transition. Like, no matter what color skin tone you are, you have a transition shade. And I think that's really, like, if that would have been the thought process going into this, and if that's what they would have been thinking, that would have been so inclusive and, like, really made Morphe, like, look better. And I think Morphe could use that after everything that's happened with them. But, like, I don't reach for it. I'm thinking of selling it. I don't think I've used it a whole lot, to be quite honest with you. Like, I used it a lot when I first got it because I was staying at I was dog sitting for a week, and it was, like, the only palette I had. Like, I had 2 palettes, and since it was so new, I was like, well, I'm gonna use it. And I think I had bought this when the Jeffree Star concealer and powder came out, because I think they all came in at once. And, like, I wish I wouldn't have wasted my money on this. And I also am pretty sure I used the James code for 10% off, which you can use it if you want, but it's affiliate code and he'll get money off of it. So if you don't want to support him, don't use it. But, like, I kind of wish I wouldn't have, like, put my money and energy and, like, even thought process into a brand that's so shady and would do such terrible things and come out with such, like, boring products. Like, none of their palettes anymore are, like, entertaining to me, and I just think that, like, while this is a big palette and for $30 you do get a lot, I don't think it's worth your money. I think you'd be way better off getting the Tati Beauty palette, because this is like $48.49 I think I paid, and the color palette is so nice. And I know it's not the most colorful, but, like, it's just better. And I have right here the Profusion Starlit palette, and it has, like, a rainbow of colors, and it's better quality, and I paid $9 for it. Like, maybe I'm just throwing shade at James Charles, but, like, you know, I'm allowed to. I'm human. He came out with the palette. He's gonna, you know, has to receive criticism and things like that, but I just don't think it was worth it. So I would save your money. Or if you could get this discounted from somewhere, like from, what's that website, Glambot or something that sells, like, cheap makeup. Like, if you could get it from that, or if, like, somebody you know is selling it for, like, $10, like, maybe get it if you want it. But I really don't think you need it in your collection. I think that's all the palettes I have to talk about, and I feel like I did really good on time as well. So yeah, I'd love to see what yours are below in the comments, or you can even make your own video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and ring the bell down below. That way you get notifications whenever I upload. I have been a little bit slow lately uploading. That's just because with everything going on, I just don't feel like it's appropriate for me to be uploading a YouTube, like, makeup video when you should be educating yourselves on what's going on in the world. But also, I've been really busy because I'm trying to move, thinking of buying a house. Stay tuned for Get Ready With Me, where I talk about all of that, because I do plan on bringing it up. But, yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye! I really hope that